Now, let's start today with the crisis in the tertiary education sector in Nigeria. The federal government of Nigeria says striking public university lecturers will not be paid for the period they have not worked to serve as a deterrent in the future. Minister of Education Adamu made the comment during the weekly ministerial briefing at the presidential villa in Abuja. State House correspondent Adesua Omorwan reports.
It's been 185 days since university lecturers last taught students in Nigeria's public tertiary schools, a development that has left students, parents, and other stakeholders frustrated. The lecturers under the umbrella body, ASUU, accused the government of reneging on agreements made in the past and failing to fund the education sector adequately.
Other members of the minister's delegation.
This briefing by the Minister of Education comes barely days after the last meeting by both sides. According to the minister, while 5 of the 6 unions in the universities will in the next week call off their strike, there are no assurances here that ASUU will be doing so.
I have 6 unions I'm dealing with. ASUU, that is the Association of Polytechnic. Then I have COASU, Colleges of Education Academic Staff. Then I have NASU, I have SANU, I have NAT, then I have ASUU. I had given all the unions, all the 6 of them, the offer made by government. And I want to tell you, in principle, all of them accepted it. The only exception was ASUU that gave me 2 other conditions. These 5 unions will call off the strike. But I cannot say the same for ASUU because, and let me just tell you what they are asking is, they can accept this if the federal government will agree to pay the salary for the month they have not worked. And I told them the federal government will not. The federal government is not acting arbitrarily. Before, it was some magnanimity on its part. There is a law which says if there is no work, there will be no pay for it. I believe this will be a very strong element that will deter many from going on strike.
On the thorny issue of payment platform, the lecturers seem to have scored a point in bargaining for a new payment system.
A committee has worked and tested all the 3 platforms, IPPIS, UTAS, U3PS. And the preliminary result shows that these 2 new ones are better than IPs in so many respects. But the decision of government will depend on what ultimately is given in the report that is being readied now.
The minister was asked what happens to the students who have lost an academic calendar during the strike.
I think we are all hit by this, perhaps because they have to spend an extra year or extra 2 years. You could say they are worse hit, but it's a national problem. And I think if you had a chance or the capacity to measure the effect of that on the economy, you'll find that economy is also a victim. Parents are also victims. Some parents depend on their children passing out of school to take care of them. So I think it's a loss for the nation. Don't say it is the students alone. For the years they lost, okay, who do you assume will consider? The federal government? No, probably you should take the leaders of striking unions to court to pay them, yes.
He says the strike by the university-based unions come in spite of the huge investment of over 2.5 trillion naira in tertiary institutions in the last 10 years from TED Fund alone, while the universities keep their internally generated funds. Away from ASUU, the minister reels out achievements in the education sector to include a reduction in the number of out-of-school children, which he puts at 6.9 million, and the expansion of the number of schools across all levels in the country. For now, the waiting continues, and it is uncertain when universities will reopen.
According to that report, it's been more than 6 months since Nigerian university lecturers embarked on the ongoing strike. With the federal government's position on no work, no pay, there are now emerging questions regarding the ethical and moral basis of the government's decision. Earlier in the week, ASUU President Professor Emmanuel Osodeke, and Arise analyst Frank Tietie spoke about the issues at stake.
What is no work, no pay, no work? Very simple. It's balance. So that's our major response. You see, I watched the minister today, and I thought that as a minister of education and as a government, that he will come to the table to see how to resolve the issue in the Nigerian university system. We are thinking of threats. By our academic standard, we are not afraid of threats. Even during the military era, we are not afraid of threats. We will fight for the Nigerian education system to be such that we will start having foreign students coming to Nigeria, foreign lecturers coming to Nigeria as Nigerian students are going outside and Nigerian lecturers are good. That is what we want. Not coming to talk on studio with no work, no pay. So what? Let me tell you about the academics. As an academic, go and look at my condition of service. I have 3 lines of work: teaching, research, and community service. All we have done is to stop teaching. So it's not as if we stop research and community service. That is 2. 3, when we resume, we are going to start from where we stopped long ago. We are going to start there and bring up to the present and continue. So all the work we have not done in the past, we are going to...
Dr. Dele Asire is Chairman, Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASUU, University of Lagos chapter, and he joins us now. Thank you for joining us on this Day Live, the Sunday talk show, Dr. Dele Asire.
Thank you for this invitation.
Well, after that press briefing by the Minister of Education, Malam Adamu, yesterday we were told that he met with officials of the Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities, that's SANU, and the Non-Academic Staff Union, NASU, and he made it clear that government has provided 50 billion naira to take care of earned allowances that the unions in the universities are asking for. Now, SANU and NASU have cut off their strike, but ASUU is still on strike. Why is that the case?
Well, thank you very much. ASUU is a union of intellectuals, and we started this strike before SANU or NASU. And we have always had capacity, to prosecute our strike without support from any union. Having said that, it is important to note that our union didn't call this strike because of earned academic allowances. Earned academic allowances is just one out of the several demands that we have before government. And even the so-called 50 billion by the reticent Minister of Education is put in next year's budget. And our union have had enough of promissory notes from government. And this time around, we are saying that we have core demands. The demands are that 1, the 2009 ASUU FGN agreement be renegotiated. And government itself had set up first the Boale Babalakin Committee 2017, the Muzali Jubril Committee that concluded renegotiation in 2021. Government petitioned that. In 2022, when we commenced this strike, the same government set up the Nimi Briggs Committee. And also by the utterances of the minister now, that report by Nimi Briggs is being technically petitioned. And then a paltry offer is given to our union in a take it or leave it manner. As a union of intellectuals, we have rejected that offer. Our union will continue to insist that our universities must be globally competitive.
Well, Dr. Asire, what the federal government is saying in response to the Nimi Briggs report committee is that, look, the increase in salary that is being recommended will cost the Nigerian government about 1.1 trillion naira. And that given the crisis in the world and given the revenue crisis that the Nigerian government is facing, it will be unkind for anybody to think that the government should shell out 1.1 trillion naira and that, ASUU members are behaving as if they are not in this country.
Has government declared austerity measure? Has there been any reduction in the cost of governance? The globe-trotting and junketing president, has he reduced the number of his frivolous travels out of this country and frivolous donations, to neighboring countries? And look, the point is, we're in a society where we really don't appreciate, the role which education can play in our developmental strides and the crucial role of tertiary education as that citadel for the development of human capacity for the country. No amount should be too much for a serious country to invest in its education. And should government do that, it's going to reap from it. Today, we send our children to Ghana, to outside the country, so many places in the world, to Ukraine until the war started, churning out hard-earned foreign exchange. So the argument that government cannot churn out, look, the last time we got salary increase was in 2009. So if 14 years after, there's a proposal to increase pay for lecturers, what a responsible government should do is to come to the table and discuss with us and not organize press conferences and throw banters and write rough shots on the best brains in the country. Certainly, a lot needs to be desired from this government.
Okay, Dr. Asire, senior staff are returning to work. Non-academic staff, they are returning to work. Doesn't that make ASUU look bad? Because, okay, there'll be some activity on the campuses, but the lecturers will still be saying, no pay, no work.
See, our union don't succumb to blackmail. And we didn't call this strike because we want to feel good in the eyes of SANU or students or anywhere. Yeah, we are sensitive to the plight of our students. But this strike action is to save Nigerian public university system from imminent collapse. As I speak with you, our students are unwilling to become university teachers. Should we leave the state today, who are those who will take over from us? So we must, as scholars, be futuristic and not think about the immediate. Look, government allowed this strike to drag for 6 months. Who is going to punish Adamu for keeping quiet for 6 months? Who is going to punish the so-called commander-in-chief who gave 3 executive orders to end this strike and none was implemented by those who are paid? And then you are coming to say that other unions have accepted. Yeah, other unions can accept if they are satisfied with promissory notes. But our union is 10 times beaten, and now we are wiser for it. Whatever it is that governments want to do, government should come to the negotiating table in line with International Labour Convention and the principles of collective bargaining and discuss with our union. And of course, we also have ideas that we have already shared with government on how to improve, the university system in Nigeria. Whether or not they have the political will to implement it is then left, to the president and his ministers. But as far as we are concerned, our cause is just, our struggle is patriotic, and we are resolute and determined to pursue this strike action to a logical conclusion.
But Dr. Asire, have you thought of the possibility that this strike could go on till the end of the tenure of this administration? And the Minister of Education was alluding to that, suggesting that, I guess, when he reminded the National Association of Nigerian Students that, look, the way this matter is going, they should take ASUU to court because ASUU is the problem, as he put it, as it were.
Well, a man cannot live above the level of his knowledge and understanding. Asking our students to take us to court, I don't think that we have ever fallen that low in the history of this country. And it's unfortunate. That's on number one. Point number 2 is, how is ASUU the problem? I just told you we had an agreement 13 years ago with a government. Year in, year out. Look, by now in serious societies, the Minister of Education ought to have thrown in the towel. Ditto for the Minister of Labour. The Minister of Labour presided over 3 different memoranda of action between government and our union up to today, none has been faithfully implemented. This minister, who now found his voice, was the Minister of Education 6 months ago when this strike was declared. In spite of all the meetings, all the plea from NAREC, from everybody to get this matter resolved, the minister remained, silent, indifferent and lackluster. But today, having found his voice, is asking NANS to take us to court. In any case, we are glad that NANS already replied him that if there's anybody to be sued and taken to court, it should be government and this Minister of Education.
Okay, beyond all of this, the federal government, we have been told, has appealed to ASUU to please call off the strike. Is it that we don't have enough people in ASUU who will at least know that they have begged us, let us move on?
The issues are not about begging. And to beg ASUU is also begging the issue. We are also begging government to do the needful. We are also asking well-meaning Nigerians to prevail on government. The issues are simple. Renegotiate our agreement. Pay an African average, an African competitive wage to those who teach in the university. Revitalize our universities. Take us off the now fraudulent IPPIS, system and deploy UTAS. What is difficult in all of this? So in the same vein, our union is appealing to well-meaning Nigerians to please beg government to meet our demands so that we can resume work.
Government begging ASUU begging government. On that note, I would like to thank you very much, Dr. Dele Asire, for joining us on this Live, the Sunday Talk Show.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. It's a pleasure to be here.